I Love Mortgage Brokering, Episode 1.
The most inspiring stories from today's most successful mortgage brokers. Join your host, Scott Peckford, on I Love Mortgage Brokering.
Hi everyone, I'm Scott Peckford, the host of I Love Mortgage Brokering. Each week, I interview two of the top brokers in the country where they share their story and some of what has made them successful. Each show is approximately 30 minutes long and will follow a predictable format. The brokers begin by sharing how they got into the mortgage business and a bit about their journey. No one as a little boy or girl said, "Hey, when I grow up, I want to be a mortgage broker." It's fascinating how many different paths people take entering this awesome profession. I then ask each person to share a quote that has impacted them. I happen to love quotes. A good quote is like taking a whole bunch of life experience and distilling it down into a memorable bite-sized chunk. I then ask about a failure they've experienced. I know from my personal journey as a mortgage broker, I have learned a lot from my failures. I love hearing how other people have overcome setbacks and what they have learned now looking back. I also find successful brokers have a process or a system. They have administrative systems and sales systems. I asked them to share with us a system or process that wasn't working and what sort of change they made. I find this helps me to understand how they think and helps me with a practical way to improve my business. I then move into the rapid fire questions. This is a short answer question part of the show, although some guests have dropped some real value bombs in the rapid fire section. Some of the rapid fire questions I ask are, what is the number one thing holding most brokers back from being successful? What one habit do you think has made you successful? I ask about an internet resource like an Evernote they use every day in their business and they love. And then I ask about where they think the industry is headed. One of my favorite questions is the DeLorean questions. Remember the movie Back to the Future when they had the car, you could travel to any time? Well, I tell them, imagine you have the DeLorean and you can travel back in time, and the only time you can go back to is your first day as a mortgage broker. And you have 15 minutes. What 3 pieces of advice would you give yourself to be more successful today? Why start this podcast? My mission is to help brokers run profitable mortgage businesses. This is personal for me because I'm an active mortgage broker who's really messed up in this area. Over the past 8 years, my volume has fluctuated from 20 to 40 million. However, I have to confess my highest volume years were also some of my lowest net profit. In 2012, I decided I need to rework my business model. I'm grateful because the past 2 years have been my highest net profit, even though they've been on the lower end of my average volume. I've learned that high volume does not necessarily equal high profit. One of the changes I made to my business is I now work from home. This comes with a unique set of challenges and opportunities, and my only staff is a licensed virtual assistant. I find working primarily by myself to be uninspiring at times. To stay motivated, I attend broker conferences to connect with colleagues. In fact, I usually get more value from a conversation over a beer in the lobby with a fellow broker than I do from most conference speakers. I find I leave the conference all jacked and ready to get back to work. However, attending conferences frequently just so I can have these conversations is costly and time-consuming. Remember my mission about being profitable? That's when I decided I had to launch I Love Mortgage Brokering. I interview 2 successful brokers every week with the goal of interviewing 100 brokers over the next year. I have 2 goals with this podcast. The first, the selfish goal. I want to get better at my mortgage business. Talking to top producers inspires me and fires me up with what's possible. Even though some of my guests have drastically different business models, I find I can always find something I can learn. The second goal is to help other brokers get better. I have been fortunate to have had a lot of people help me in my mortgage career, and I feel like this podcast is a way for me to give back. As J.F. Kennedy once said, a rising tide lifts all ships. Mortgage brokers as a group account for only 30% of overall market share. I believe we all get better when we share ideas. I would love to see our market share increase to 40 or even 50%. I know this is a tall task in light of the increased competition among banks and the proliferation of rate sites. However, I think the conflicting information on the net, as well as it creates confusion, and this confusion is great for a mortgage broker who is knowledgeable, cares about their clients, and can explain options in a simple way. The plan. After every interview, I personally take 5 minutes and sit down and think about one idea or one change I can make to my mortgage business as a result of the conversation I just had. I don't want to just talk about being a better broker, I want to be a better broker. I then, at ilovemortgagebrokering.com, I then share in the notes what I'm applying to my business as a result of this interview. I encourage you to check it out and also share what's working for you. So now that you know about the show, let me share with you a little bit about me. When I was 21, I really wanted to be in the financial services industry. And so I took my Canadian Securities course with the goal of working at Investors Group. Except I had a problem. I was 21, but I looked 15. And I realized pretty quick that nobody in their right mind was going to give me their money to invest. And probably rightfully so. So instead of becoming a financial advisor, I switched gears and became a paramedic. I figured, hey, if somebody calls 911 and I show up looking 15, what are they going to do about it? It's not like they can dial 912. And so I spent my 20s driving around in an ambulance, taking people to the hospital, and I really enjoyed that time. However, in my 30s, I decided I needed to make a change, and I ended up gravitating back to the financial industry. That's when I became a broker. Over the last 8 years, I have learned a ton about how to run a mortgage business, how to not run one. I've made mistakes. I've learned a lot, and I find that for me, talking to other people is one of the best ways to keep me motivated and also for me to keep learning. And I don't know about you, but when I'm learning, I'm excited and I want to keep working. But when I'm not learning, I start to get bored and distracted. And so part of these interviews is to help me stay focused and to keep inspired. So hopefully now that you know about the show, you know about me, and if you're a broker or want to be a broker, I would love to have you join me. Please, if the shows ping you and you enjoy them, go to iTunes and rate them, give them an honest rating. Also, if you are a successful broker and would like to be on the show and share some of what you've learned, I would love to connect with you. Send me an email at scott@robyourbank.com. If you're new to brokering, welcome. Hopefully these interviews will inspire you with what's possible and help you just get on the path to this great profession. There's a lot of changes that are happening. There's lots of challenges, but there's still opportunity. And hopefully listening to some of these amazing people will inspire you. So until the next interview, I hope you rock your business and we'll talk soon.
Want to learn from the top 5 mortgage brokers in the country? Then you have come to the right place. Join Scott Peckford on I Love Mortgage Brokering.
Hi, Broker Nation. If you enjoyed this interview, please take a minute, visit iTunes, and rate this podcast. If you do, you'll get 3 deals in the next month. Okay, that's not true, but I would really appreciate it. Also, I want to invite you to join me on a quest. After every episode, I personally take 5 minutes and think about one thing or one idea I can use to improve my mortgage business. I encourage you to do the same. Over the next 12 months, I plan to do 100 interviews and make 100 improvements. I'm going to track these to see how they impact my business and, more importantly, my bottom line. Visit ilovemortgagebrokering.com and post in the show notes what one thing you plan to do differently after listening to this interview, and check out what other brokers are sharing. Also, if you'd like to connect with me, fire me an email at scott@robyourbank.com. I love hearing from passionate mortgage professionals who are interested in improving their business. Until next time, rock on.